I don't know if I'm speaking from a place of privilege because, like, when I see all this, I made 1,000 applications, I got one job. I'm like, bro, it's not that deep. So, for me, I feel it's not hard to get a job as technical writer. Of course, the pay might not be what you have in mind initially, and of course, it won't be ridiculous either.
You are now listening to Marketing Over Wine, a podcast where I chat with the marketers behind the companies and the campaigns you see in the world today. They share everything, how they got into marketing, the strategies and the tools that they use, how they charge for their services, and the mistakes and successes they have made in their career. Each episode is unfiltered and a masterclass, so come join us. I am your host as always, Olawumi Olaniyi. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Marketing Over Wine podcast. Joining me on today's episode is John Fawole. John is a Web3 technical writer who has worked with leading Web3 brands like Alchemy, Silo Foundation, NFTify, and Akin. Currently, John leads and manages the technical content marketing team at Blockchain Alpha. Glad to have you here, John.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. I've been hearing about the podcast on LinkedIn, and it's really a pleasure to be here as a guest.
Thank you. It's really glad to have you here. You know, the crazy part about all of this was when you mentioned that you were still in school studying law. I can absolutely relate to that because back then in school, many of us tried to make ends meet.
Yes.
Personally, I used to serve food and drinks at parties. I did ushering. I did homeschooling. Yeah.
Wow.
I was a homeschool teacher.
Wow.
Till today, one man is still owing me money from my homeschooling days. Well, did all sorts of things back then to make ends meet. So let's start from there. For you, what made you start working at this stage? And why technical writing? Why not something related to law?
Okay. Thank you. I feel this is probably something everyone has done in a way. And I didn't really kick off with technical writing. Okay, then let me go to the...
No.
I actually worked as a laundry assistant before.
Tell us everything.
I was a laundry assistant before.
Okay.
You know, when I was in, was it part 2 or 3? I love ironing clothes, like in my house. Then I'm the one who irons for almost everybody, and I love doing it.
Okay, laundromats.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. So I worked there at a point. Then when I finished high school, secondary school actually. When I finished secondary school, I feel I taught for about 6 months. I was working 8 to almost 5. I would do extra lesson. God, I feel I've never tried. I feel I've tried. So I did all those stuff. Then later on, one of my senior colleagues in law is now a lawyer, John Ajayi. He set up this masterclass for writing. Now, that reminds me.
Okay.
At that point, I was doing graphics design. In fact, I had clients.
Wow. So wait, let's keep track of it. First, you started as a dry cleaner.
Yes.
Then you did homeschool teaching.
Yes.
And graphics design.
Yes.
Okay, continue.
So, when I saw the masterclass, I was like, okay, wait, I feel the way John couched it was learning how to write to sell.
Okay.
I was like, okay, I'll just use the writing to sell thing for my graphics.
Yeah.
So I'll probably make more sales as a graphics designer. That was really my, intention. So I enrolled for the masterclass, did everything, and when I was done, I now got more interested in writing. And funny enough, John told us to try all this Upwork thing and all this yada. So I tried them out and they worked out quite well.
Really?
Yeah. I can remember.
Upwork didn't work out for me. I would not advise anyone to go to Upwork.
Really? It's actually a good platform, I guess. I enjoyed it. I still use it till date.
Oh, wow. I have my reasons though.
Really? Let me hear your reasons.
1, the exchange rate is trash.
Yes, I agree.
That's the first one. 2, it is, I don't want to say competitive because even cold emailing or warm connections are still competitive. But the quality of clients you get there compared to the quality of clients I feel you can get outside Upwork are very different. I don't know, it's a personal bias. I don't like Upwork.
I feel I have a couple of friends who also have that idea too, and I feel everyone should just do what works for them, kind of.
Yeah. All right, please continue.
So yeah, as I was saying, I tried the Upwork thing. My first job there was very funny one. It's a podcast thing, so I would transcribe and just type it out and yada yada yada. So I mean, and my first, I think the woman paid me $5 per hour then.
Oh, wow.
And I feel the very first time I cashed out, my brother was having his birthday around that time, so I bought him. I took him out of my $5.
But when you convert it to naira, you're in baller now.
And at that point, I mean, it was big money to me, to be honest.
Definitely.
Because like I did like 12 hours a week or stuff like that, and
oh wow, $60.
So I mean, it was big money to me then. So I was like, nice. I felt on top of the world.
Definitely.
Then I started using the Upwork thing more. Later on, I now became more active on social media. And before writing, I had been building my social media as a law student before.
Okay.
So if you see my LinkedIn connection, I have about almost 20k now. Mm-hmm. I built it to like 5, 6, 7k as a law student. So as a law student, if you check some of my connections, they are mainly lawyers and all these law people. Mm-hmm. But later on, I just switched to doing marketing stuff. And then now there is another backstory.
Okay.
At a point, my brother started doing crypto trading. Then I got interested. I mean, it's just something, all this fanciful tech stuff. I'm like, okay, what's it all about?
Yeah.
Out of curiosity. Then I now got someone who asked me to write for him on crypto. I'm not like, oh, wait, bro, come. Using this crypto trading thing, right? Uh-huh. Someone wants me to write for him on it. So just tell me in Yoruba. Explain to me in Yoruba. I'll now write. Because one thing is, once I get something in my native language, yeah, that means I've really gotten the entire concept behind it. So if they explain to me, I'll do it. Then I found this very interesting at a point. Then that was how I got into crypto writing. The story of how I got into technical writing was a bit different.
Okay.
I was working at NFT5. And then there was this topic we were working on. I feel my editor asked me how to build an NFT marketplace. Mm-hmm. So after writing about it and all that, then I wanted to talk about the tech stack you need to build it to and the developer part of things. And then my editor was like, oh no, that's too technical, that they don't need it for their business and they'll cut it off and all that.
Okay.
From business perspective, it's understandable. I mean, this is not their audience.
Yeah.
But I, as a person, got to know that I actually love all this. Okay, now there is something I didn't mention. When I finished secondary school, I taught for about 6 months or so.
Okay.
Then there was this computer stuff in my church then.
Yeah.
They were teaching people HTML and CSS. So I went there. I did like 5 months. That was what I did before I actually resumed law part 1.
Okay.
So I have a bit of background in HTML and CSS and all those stuff.
Nice.
Then at that point, I was like, okay, let me just groom this skill and start writing more about the developer part of things. And because I have this background before and this writing skill that I have, let me just combine the two and, max it out. That was basically how I started technical content creation and yeah.
Nice. So you mentioned that your boss, the one at NFT5, didn't want you to write about it because it felt too technical, right? Yes. And that's the idea most people have about technical writing. When anyone hears technical writing, they feel like, yeah, big grammar, too much technical side. Too much technical side of it. People are not going to really understand what you are talking about, except they are developers or something.
Exactly.
The question now is, for you as a technical writer, can technical writing be creative? Do you think technical writing can be creative? Yes, I think it can be. Okay. But let me put it this way. Okay. When I was growing up, I love reading books that have pictures. Mm-hmm. So if you would tell me the actual thing, put the picture alongside. But as time goes on, I do not really need the picture part of thing again. I'm just like, give me the actual raw thing. Okay. So I feel that low-key, that's what I feel so far about technical writing. For beginner related stuff, am I trying to be creative? There was this stuff I wrote about reentrancy attack. I wrote a story inside to portray it and all that. Mm-hmm. But when we are writing for
intermediate engineers, senior engineers, they don't really appreciate creativity. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
They just wanted to show them how it works.
Okay.
Like, just I'm an insider, just show me the raw thing. But for beginners and all that, we try to be creative and do story, illustration kind of thing. There's this editor I'm currently working with, an external editor. Like, for their company, they don't like using illustration. Like, for instance, trying to bring home a point with some, they just like, show me the code, show me the brief explanation of the code, and let's go away.
Yeah.
So that's it. We are creative, but no, sometimes.
All right then.
A quick thing to add, if you haven't subscribed yet and you love the content of Marketing Over Wine, please do so and share with all your friends. Now let's get back to the episode.
So let's take it back a bit. What do you do as a technical writer? What does a technical writer do?
Okay, thank you. Basically, what we do is content marketing.
Okay.
Stuff like technical documentation, technical white papers, technical tutorials, blog post. It's basically content marketing. What we do as general content marketers, and just adding technicalities to it. That's basically what we also do.
Nice. Many people feel that for them to become technical writers, they need to first become a developer, or they need to have an idea of how codes work.
Yeah.
Do you think that's necessary? Do you think you have to understand codes? You have to understand the back end or the front end of a software or a website before you can become a technical writer?
Okay. Well, thank God this is a podcast because in reality, there is no yes or no question answer to that.
Okay.
If I were tweeting, I would have said yes, you should not know how to code. But in reality, it's not the case. Let me explain.
Okay.
For instance, now when I was working at NFT5, I was writing technical stuff about NFTs and all this stuff. When I was working at Arken 2, I was writing about technical stuff about security. What is this attack? What is this? I'll analyze the whole blockchain, talk about, for instance, all this super chain of optimism, explain how it works, parachain of Kusama and Polkadot, explain how it works and all that. That way, I'm not really talking about code.
Okay.
I'm talking about the actual understanding of probably a concept or an idea, the technical. For instance, there is this stuff I wrote at Alchemy then about proto-dank sharding. It's a stuff on Ethereum roadmap. So when I wrote that stuff, it's heavily conceptual.
Okay.
It's not really about code. For instance, if you read more of Vitalik's blog post, you don't really see much of code. In fact, you only see maths at best,
all right,
or polynomials. But it goes into conceptual understanding. You have to know the conceptual understanding of everything. So if you're writing about conceptual understanding of anything, that one you don't need code. And I can tell you that I worked at NFT5, I worked at Akin. I didn't really code as technical or show code in my content. It wasn't necessary.
Okay.
So if you are working for those companies, and yeah, one more example. There was time I was working for this crypto trading company. What they required me to do was look at the markets, analyze the markets, candlestick patterns, all this fundamental analysis, sentiment analysis, technical analysis, and just do it, write it, and everybody is good. Nobody needs any code.
Okay.
I hope you get the perspective.
Yeah, I think so. It means for some roles, you might need the idea of coding. You might need to know how to code to be able to understand the codes you see and write about them.
Yes.
And then for other roles, it might just be understanding industry knowledge,
exactly,
maybe, to be able to write about them and not necessarily about the codes.
Exactly. But if I were to advise anyone, I feel to be an all-round technical writer, or to be better. How do I couch it? To be better.
To be a hot cake. To be a hot cake. To be a much.
To be a hot cake. You should learn how to do. For instance, the place of work I mentioned earlier, I did not really code, but the people I'm working with right now, as I'm opening VS Code, I'm opening Google Docs.
Blockchain Alpha.
Yes. Yeah, Blockchain Alpha. So that one requires like actual coding. I'm working on a tutorial now.
All right. Speaking of misconceptions, what misconception do people have about what you do as a technical writer? What do people say sometimes that you just be like, waiting be this? No, waiting be this.
A lot of them. A lot of them. Where should I start from?
Anywhere.
Okay, there is this stuff. Sometimes content marketers don't see us as their parts. or they don't see them. They don't see us as part of them.
Yeah.
The same way, developers don't see us as part of them.
So you are stuck in the middle.
Exactly. For instance, someone wanted to hire me one time. I was like, "Can I code?" I'm like, "Bro, I'm a technical writer. Why are you asking me if I can't code? I can't code." Like, you need to ask me. The content marketing too. They'll be like, "Can you write well? Do you know about content strategy? Do you know?" I'm like, I'm a technical writer. I'm a content marketer that is a developer. It's that simple. Don't stress my life. I mean, so like there are a lot of misconceptions, and basically people, the developers or developing hiring managers for developer companies will think that probably you are a wounded developer. Like you don't know how to code well, so you just regress to being a technical writer since you cannot really be a good developer, or you are not a good developer.
Yeah.
There is that stigma.
I get that.
So then content marketers thinking, okay, we are mainly developers who do not know about writing or do not know about marketing, and basically this chasm in between the two. And we are just there. We're like, we are both of you.
I get the idea. All right then. The other day I was scrolling through Twitter, and then under Alk Sultan's tweet, he made a tweet about make a Christmas wish. And someone mentioned that his own Christmas wish was that he's currently looking for a technical writer job. For someone like that, how do you get jobs or gigs as a technical writer? What's the process that anyone can follow?
Okay, well, I don't know if I'm speaking from a place of privilege, because like when I see all this, I made 1,000 applications, I got one job. I'm like, bro, it's not that deep. So for me, I feel it's not hard to get a job as technical writer. Of course, the pay might not be what you have in mind initially.
Okay.
And of course, it won't be ridiculous either. Generally, I don't feel it's hard to get a job as technical writer, to be honest. For instance, there are agencies there. These guys are always hiring draft.dev.
Okay.
They are always hiring. Especially if I feel there was a point they were hiring Unity developers for game.
Okay.
So they're always hiring content lab. We have a lot of technical writing agencies.
Okay.
A lot of them. Apart from that, for instance, if you are using a tool and you like it, it's so easy in developer world that you can just approach whoever made it or the team behind it, like, okay, you like this, can you probably join them as a junior, maybe a developer advocate or junior community member or junior vibe member, or just, it depends on, I feel lucky all this job search thing boils down to maturity and how you can relate to people, right?
Yeah.
Like, for instance, there are some tools I use, and I use as a smart contract developer and a general developer. I'm like, okay, let me get in touch with the people behind this. At least get to follow some of them on Twitter. I get to interact with them, and I got jobs from some of them. Really
nice.
Once they see that you are good, and you might not be a senior, but not everybody expects you to be. I'm not yet a senior developer. I can say I'm a senior content marketer, but I won't say I'm a senior developer.
Okay.
Not at least not in the next 2 years, to be honest. But you can always approach people and be like, okay, you are doing this, you like what they are doing, and do they have any role for you or something as a junior? If they don't, they will say no. Some will ghost you, but that's really most times out of 10, only 2 will ghost you. Some will say no, and you move on. Everybody is fine. But if you do that consistently, you actually see some people will be like, okay, let me say this. There was this point I was reaching out to people generally, and I'm like, okay, if there's any role in your team, I mean, I'm a technical writer, I can help you do this and that. And one guy said he's actually looking for that role at that. Okay, I feel 3 actually. I can remember 3 presently. They were actually looking for a technical writer at that moment, and 2 didn't go well, 1 went well, and I'm still working for those guys till today.
Nice.
And try to be more active in the community. You don't have to be posting 2 minutes or all this LinkedIn advice or posting every day and all that, but just get in touch with people in the community.
What community is that, by the way?
For me, Twitter.
Okay.
Like, get quite active on Twitter. Then don't despise platforms like Upwork. I mean, just give it a shot. For me, I feel Upwork, it's worked really well for me, to be honest.
Okay.
So it can be exhausting. I understand, really. After sending proposals and buying connects, it can be funny.
Yeah.
But if you can give it a shot. But most importantly, reach out to people, form friendships, try to be active in the community, and you to also be very competent.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing people don't hammer on enough. For instance, if someone wants you to probably write documentation, what they will ask is, have you written any documentation before?
Yeah.
Or have you written any white paper before? If you haven't, people are doing business, they cannot really gamble unless it's Fiverr where they can. But in real life, people can't really throw money where they are not sure they'll get the desired value. So competence first, then other things will follow, I believe.
So since you need to have that experience and competence before people can throw money at you or give you money to do something for them, how can a young technical writer build their portfolio then?
Okay, for me, let me see how I did it, so it won't be a kind of template thing.
Yeah, that's what this is about. That's what Marketing Over Wine is about. Your career story.
yeah, that's why I'm more excited to just come to this podcast. I mean, it's more realistic and all that. So building competence as a technical writer, well, the very first thing is you need to don't start from being a developer. Okay, let me say I didn't start from being a developer. I started by understanding marketing. I understood marketing well. Then I understood writing well. So for marketing, I recommend anyone to go take this Google course, Google Developer Skill for Africa. They have a digital marketing course for like 40 hours or so.
Okay.
Yeah, then do that one for knowledge of marketing. Of course, take another stuff that catches your fancy. Then for writing, anyone wants to build competence in writing, there are a lot of grammatical rules. As a technical writer, I cannot commit blunders. I must confess that there were a few times, or there are times I did commit blunders, but at least there are some level of blunders people wouldn't expect from you as a professional.
Yeah.
So, like, Blogger's Bible is a good book. I read it. John Ajayi shared it with me then. The Elements of Style, that's the Blogger's Bible, Elements of Style.
Okay.
It's broke down the numerous rules of grammar, grammatical style, function name, all those technical stuff.
Yeah.
Then after understanding marketing and writing, I feel what I did then was understanding how to code. I started with Solidity, then moved to Viper, came to React, currently using Node.js. So I learned how to code.
Yeah.
Now don't just stop at learning how to code. Learn how to code to build stuff.
Okay.
Learn how to build simple stuff with code.
Yeah.
Right. So that's one thing I did. Currently now I'm working on how to build a crude API using Fastify. So like learn how to build stuff with code. That shows that you can write tutorials if you can really do that.
Yeah.
So once you have those prerequisites, for me, then I proceeded with creating contents. Stuff I learned, I wrote stuff about them.
Okay.
There is this backstory to how I got into Alchemy then. Previously, I had applied to Alchemy if they have this opening. I didn't even get a reply. But later on, I wrote something about how marketing should be done in Web3 and how some people are doing it well. Then in that content, I honestly, without bias, just mentioned that, okay, Alchemy guys are actually very good with what did I even mention themselves? I just mentioned it by the way and all that, published it. Then their SEO manager saw it and be like, and he loved it, and he reached out and be like, can I work for them? I'm like, why not? So far you pay me. So that was how I got to Alchemy. That was how I got there. So
yeah.
Anyone who wants to build competence as a tech writer, after learning how to write, marketing, how to code, start writing. And there are a couple of stuff a technical writer should know how to do. How to write an actual conceptual guide. That will be very, very clear.
Yeah.
And anyone who writes will know that writing is more of thinking and clarity stuff than the actual writing. So that's the beauty of conceptual guides. It has to be very, very clear. You have to slim it down, know how to write conceptual guides, know how to write tutorials, know how to write documentation, know how to write white paper. Then what else? Other content marketing stuff like email, press releases. Those are stuff you should have known as a content marketer. So that's how to build competence, I believe.
All right. Speaking of skills, what 4 skills? 4 of them. What 4 skills do you think technical writers need over the next 5 years?
Okay. Let me say a good understanding of new development tools.
Okay.
And new technical writing tools, rather, like documentation tools like Metlify and all those stuff.
Yeah.
Then a good understanding of the Docker as code framework.
Okay.
Docker as code framework is how we write technical content with the same tools that developers use to write content, like using GitHub, Markdown, and all those stuff. Then communication, definitely.
Yeah.
Then what else? A more sound understanding of newer frameworks and fundamentals. It will be really, really needed in the coming years, I believe.
Okay. All right then. You mentioned some of the courses you took back then to become a technical writer, and you also mentioned in one of the books a friend gave you to read. I think Blogging for Writers. Yeah.
Yes.
So, what other books? What are some must-read books for new technical writers?
Okay. There was this book I read on punctuation at a point. I can't really recollect the title, but it has about 300 pages.
Wow.
That's probably the most exhausting book I've read on punctuation. I mean, when I was done with that book, I felt myself. Really. That book is solid, so it should be on PDF drive if that site is still on PDF drive. Something on punctuation, 300 pages and all that. So that is a good book. Then on actual technical writing, I've not really seen a book, but Cynthia Peter has a GitHub repo, like a roadmap for technical writers. I guess anyone should just go check that. But mainly, read books on writing or marketing, then read books on engineering.
Now, imagine this. You recently attended an event where you were going to give a speech about Web3 content writing and technical writing.
Yeah.
And at that event, someone reached out to you and asked you that, "Hi, John, I'm just trying to get started in technical writing. What advice do you have for someone who is still in school like you, or who has freshly graduated and thinking of becoming a technical writer?"
I didn't see that coming though. Okay. First thing, please, if you are in school, yes, there's money in technical writing, there's a career path in technical writing, but I have this very biased opinion that please calm down. Whatever it is, finish school first and finish well, of course.
But you did not finish school first. No.
No, because there is this idea of people chasing tech and dropping out and all that. I don't really feel I encourage that.
I get that.
So please do well in school, and you can do. Funny thing is, you can do these things side by side and still be excellent at both.
Yeah.
Just my warm advice: never to drop out. Please don't drop out. So let's say you are for someone in school, and okay, let me talk about. I'm still in school now. I'm able to do technical writing.
Yeah.
I'm my final year.
Okay.
So basically, it's all boils down to time management and knowledge of priority. Your priority as a person and time management. That time management thing, you can go read Atomic Habits or all these classical. Those are very good books, but at the end of the day, nobody will really. It's something you have to. Nobody will dig that well for you.
Yeah.
You have to work on it by yourself, time management, then priorities. The thing is, as a student, getting to do all these things, at the end of the day, you have to sacrifice some things.
Yeah.
Of course, I wouldn't expect you to sacrifice your academics. No. But for instance, someone like me now, I don't watch ball.
Wow.
I don't follow anything about ball.
Wow.
I don't. The only sport I do is taekwondo, so I feel that's something I kind of sacrifice to have more time. most people don't know that. So like that's some of the things I avoid to have my time. And if you are close, those who are close to me in real life know that I can be a bit too serious when it comes to time. For instance, when I wake up, devotion, if I have any classes, come back, do client work.
Yeah.
What's it called? If I have to build any stuff for personal development, spend some time to do it. Then before I sleep, read my books. Then the next day again. When people see this thing about you, you kind of feel you are kind of not social and all that. But I feel that's the price for running two things at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I said, time management, then sacrifice things that are less important to you, so you can have more times for your academics and technical writing.
Yeah.
Because now there is this. Thank God this is a podcast again, so I can talk well.
Please give us all the tea.
Because some of these conversations are not really straight. You have to bend, and all that.
Yeah.
Now there is this drill about technical writing. For you to be good at the job, you should not only do client work all the time.
Okay.
There are some stuff you should do personally. Let's say you have to read up on a new framework framework, or you have to code out, try out a new framework, or you have to build something, or just have to learn. I call it as a person personal development, right? So even though you are in school, you are in anywhere, you still have, apart from doing client work, you still have to create time where you do stuff ahead. And the beauty of this is when there is a job that requires you to use this knowledge, it will come in handy, and all that. So when you consider all these factors, okay, your academics, client work, maybe branding and posting on media, then personal development to get better as a tech writer, your day is honestly filled up. If you're a church boy like me too, go to church, come back, your day is honestly filled up already. So time management and sacrifice.
All right. For the personal development parts, I completely understand it. It's why people are advised that outside of working for an employer, try to build a personal brand.
Yes.
Whether it's a blog page or a social media page, even if you're not going to post there every week, maybe once a month or something like that, it just helps for you to write for yourself.
Yes.
And for us writers, many of us started from the creative side of it. Many of us started from literary writing.
I was a poet.
Yeah. I started as a poet.
Wow.
I almost even released an anthology of poems. And I wrote short stories and had a pseudonym.
Wow.
I was very much in the literary space. That was what made me get better at editing and writing, because I was leading 2 different writing communities back then, where I helped to edit different writers' works and publish their anthologies. And it made me better as a writer. But like I posted on Twitter recently, many of us started out writing because of the passion that we had for it.
Yes.
Yeah. But along the way, because we're looking for money, obviously, we began to tilt towards writing for money, writing for things not related to the passion we had at the beginning.
I agree.
Right now, you're not doing poetry, and neither am I.
I'm not a retired poet.
You're not a retired poet. You're writing about optimism and VS codes.
Boring things.
Yeah, and other technical features and tools. I'm writing about finance, home cleaning, interviews, content marketing, and things like that. If you look at it, it had nothing to do with the creativity that we started with.
Yes.
So yeah, I get that part. In as much as you're writing for work, don't neglect the personal development part of it.
Yes.
Where you feed your soul and your mind with writing, or by writing for yourself.
Exactly. And still on that, I feel, what's it called? That fire, or should I call it fire? Yeah. That fire every one of us had then for writing basically for passion. As a person, I feel I still keep it, and I feel other writers should still keep it. Let me give you an instance. I have a Medium account where I have never posted anything technical, and I only post there about my philosophy, my life experiences, my thought process, all this, my growing up, all this stuff. For me, it helps me to connect with my writing that is actually for passion, not commercialized, just pure.
You're writing for yourself.
Soulish. Exactly. Now there is another twist. All this personal writing stuff on my Medium, I've actually converted like 2 clients for me.
Wow.
2 technical clients. So that one, even though I was not even looking for them, but just wanted to chip that in.
That works too. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
So, for your work as a technical writer, what tools did you use day to day as part of your workflow?
Okay, day to day, I use Google Docs like every other writer.
Definitely.
Yes.
See, I made a Twitter thread recently on Marketing Over Wine's page about the tools most marketers use after speaking to several of them. And Google Docs are the unanimous votes.
I mean,
many of us,
everybody use Google
all of
Docs.
us actually use Google Docs. It's like a family member at this point.
There was a point I was in WPS,
Yeah.
but at a point, there was this day I was working on a project, and I was using my phone, and the app crashed, and that project from top to it was gone.
Wow.
I think it was since that day when I was in part 3 that I permanently switched to Google Docs, and it has ever been happily ever. How do they say that grammar? Happily ever after since then. Okay, yeah. So about the tools, Google Docs, VS Code, if I needed to code. If I were writing about smart contracts, I prefer using Remix, but basically VS Code. Then if it were API documentation, I'll use Postman or Swagger. Then but heavily 80% or 70% Google Doc,
Okay.
30% VS Code most times.
All right. So before we started recording this episode, on our last call, I mentioned wine. Yeah. And I mentioned how I'm going to bring a glass of wine to the call.
And I'll bring my glass of water.
Yeah. So I'm currently having a glass of Asconi Agor red wine.
Oh.
But since you have your glass of water,
I have my white wine.
Your white wine.
Exactly.
So if you could have a glass of water or a glass of wine with anyone in the technical writing field or elsewhere in marketing, past or present, who would it be and why?
Wait, let me think.
All right, take your time.
That's kind of a tight question.
If there are many, you can mention none of them too.
Okay. First of all, I feel the first person I want to have a glass of wine with is PG of Y Combinator per gram.
Okay.
Then after per gram, Brian Armstrong of Coinbase.
Okay.
The reason I like him specifically was because he saw value in crypto when nobody did.
Yeah.
And he was heavy on doing stuff in accordance with the law, which eventually paid off. So as a law guy, that impressed me anyway. So Brian Armstrong, this CEO of Basel, then Sam Altman.
Okay.
Coming to marketing, who would I say? There's this guy, Jeremy Mossa.
Yeah.
Yes. This woman, Flying Cats. Jeremy Mossa, I feel I've been seeing a lot of his stuff when I was starting out in content marketing, and what's it called? It really inspired me.
Okay.
Yeah, so Jeremy Mossa, who else? Jeremiah Ajayi too. Yes. Who else? I feel basically that's it. Yeah. Then Matteo Colina. Yeah, Node.js. Yeah, I feel those people.
All right. Do you have any predictions for the Web3 space in 2024?
I'll say that predictions. First of all, I don't do all this trading thing, so I cannot really give much stuff on trading.
Yeah, I lost a lot of money in trading. Over 500k actually in 2022.
Oh,
yeah.
My very close friend lost money in trading. That was why I lost interest. I feel for me, I feel I don't want to bear the risk. Those who have the chest for it should do it. I'll pray for them. So I'm not doing it. I feel for me it's better I just see my capital and okay, my capital is here, everybody is good.
That's fine good. Also. That's fine.
No, I am not seeing any. I don't really want any 20, 50, 50x. Mm-hmm. Just give me what I have. I'm good. But I feel we will see less of things that have little value.
Yeah.
We'll see them not gain traction. You know, one of the very important things I was really happy about was the fact that NFTs, the hype around it kind of died down. The tech behind NFTs is good,
yeah,
but what people are using it for is totally out of place.
Yeah,
you know. So for that, I'm very, very happy because they are distracting the main engineers building and everybody building. So I predict that what's it called? Or I suppose things that don't really bring value to people will not really gain traction.
Yeah.
All this meme coin thing. Well, there will still be meme coin stuff and all that, but I really hope it doesn't gain too much influence next year. You know, I just want us to build, and I hope we'll have more products that people will use. You know, I still pray that there will be a crypto product that my mom, who didn't really go to school, can use. That will really impress me. Not all this meme coin thing.
So basically using Web3 and the blockchain to create solutions for the underserved, older people that don't even understand tech.
Yes, that means we are building something. Unless we do that, it's just nobody cares about the grammar of decentralization and all this.
yeah.
That's the truth. And one more thing, I feel I plan to see this kind of more synergy between Web 2 guys and Web 3 guys. Lucky there's been this kind of beef and unnecessary arrogance. It's very unnecessary to me.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine developer saying, okay, I'm Web 3 developer, as a result of that, I'm kind of probably better than you, a Web 2 developer. It's just kind of out of place. So I think we see more of collab thing than competition stuff.
I hope so too. All right then. Thank you so much for your time and for coming on this podcast, John.
It's a privilege. I've been seeing your LinkedIn for a lot of time, so me being a guest there.
Thank you for responding when I reached out.
Yeah.
It's been really amazing actually. It's been fun talking to you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure.
I look forward to this episode going live and you sharing your story, not just with me, but with every other person who listens to this episode.
Yeah. I look forward to that too. Thank you so much for, having me on. It's something I love. I love to talk. Most people know that I love to talk. So yeah, it's a pleasure.
Have a lovely day ahead. Bye for now.
Goodbye.
Thanks for joining me on this episode of Marketing Over Wine. To listen to more career stories of marketing professionals around the world, subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app of your choice. Or simply visit marketingoverwine.com to stay up to date.